The figure is already there when Evan's camera blinks. Tall, thin, frozen, halfway down the ridge. No sound, no breath. Just a shape standing where nothing should be. The feed cuts again, a quick digital hiccup, and it jumps closer, landing inches from where his tracks end. Evan grips the camera tight, the red record light trembling against his glove as his breath fogs into the cold Montana night. Another blink. Another blink. The figure tilts its head, bending too far, like its bones are guessing the motion instead of knowing it. Evan steps back. The camera blinks again. The thing mirrors him. Closer. Certain. Focused. Like it recognizes him. The feed drops for a fraction of a second. When it returns, the figure's eyes reflect his screen, not the moon. They lock on him with purpose. The camera blinks once more. And now there's a second shape behind it. Why did both of them lean toward him at the same exact angle? Evan forces his camera down, trying to break the connection, but the screen flickers on its own, pulling him back toward the ridge. The two figures stand like statues sculpted from frost, their bodies bent at the same searching angle. His breath shakes as he circles left, keeping them both in view, but the camera pulses again, quick, sharp. And now the second one is closer than the first. Their eyes shine like mirrors, reflecting not the moon, but something deeper, something shifting behind their own gaze. Evan whispers to himself, trying to anchor his fear, but the creatures tilt their heads at the same moment, as if listening. The cold thickens. The wind stops. Even the night seems to recoil. And when the next blink hits, both figures pivot toward the ravine, pointing without moving an inch, as if ordering him. Evan's instincts scream to run, but the creatures shift without moving, each blink tightening the angle of their stance. They're steering him, hurting him. The ravine drops steeply to his right, a gash of darkness between jagged stone. The moment he looks away from them, the camera pulses again, and a blinker now stands at the ravine's edge, waiting. Evan's heart slams against his ribs as he steps back, trying to break whatever pattern they're following. But every time the screen twitches, the creature at the ravine adjusts its position with eerie precision, always watching. Then, on the next blink, it raises one long arm toward the drop, as if inviting him to look deeper, or fall. He forces himself to look into the ravine. The darkness seems deeper than night, a void swallowing the faint moonlight. His camera glitches again, hard. The feed whites out, then snaps back, and suddenly the blinker at the top is gone. Evan spins, slipping on the frozen dust, breath tight and burning. Another blink. The creature reappears directly behind him, close enough that its shadow merges with his own. Evan's hand shakes as he tries to raise the camera, but the thing lowers its head slowly, like smelling him, even though it hasn't moved. The next blink cuts out sound for a second. When it returns, the second blinker stands beside the first, both angled toward the ravine. Something down there is pulling them, and now is pulling him too. Evan backs away from the ravine, desperate to keep all angles in sight. The camera twitches again, harder, faster. Each blink shows the creatures pulling into tighter formation, no longer just appearing closer. They're arranging themselves, coordinated, intentional. Evan stumbles over a patch of frozen brush and crashes onto the snow, the cold knocking the breath from his lungs. The feed cuts entirely for a full half-second. When it returns, his blood freezes. More figures now stand on the ridge behind the first two. 4 or 5, maybe 6, silent. Perfectly still. But their eyes track him with chilling precision. He scrambles to his feet, heart pounding against the ice inside his chest. Whatever this is, it isn't random. They're positioning for something. Evan runs, snow exploding beneath his boots, breath tearing out of him in ragged bursts. Behind him, the blinkers don't chase. They don't need to. Every blink of his camera forces the world to lurch. 1 second he's alone on the ridge. The next, a blinker stands 50 yards ahead, blocking his path. He veers left, sliding down a shallow slope into a field of scrub that crackles under the freezing wind. The camera pulses again. A second blinker appears on his right. Another blink shows a third emerging from behind a jagged boulder, its eyes fixed straight on him. They're building a perimeter, tightening a loop. Evan skids to a stop, chest heaving, realizing the terrible truth. They aren't hunting him. They're directing him, guiding him somewhere he doesn't want to go. And the next blink feels like a command. He cuts downhill into a patch of dead brush, its branches scraping at his jacket. His camera bounces against his chest, flashing erratically, each pulse another threat. The moment he lifts it by instinct, a new figure appears dead ahead, its body outlined by pale starlight. Evan gasps and turns, but the blink snaps again, and the creature is now on his left, forcing him deeper toward the ravine floor. The air grows colder, thicker, as if the night itself is closing in. Evan crouches behind a fallen trunk, trying to steady his breathing, but the camera hums with a low electronic tremor. The next blink is sharper, almost violent. When the feed returns, 3 blinkers stand perfectly spaced around him, heads cocked at matching angles. They've found the center of the circle. Evan bolts again, using the narrow gap between 2 boulders to slip out of the formation. The blinkers don't follow. Instead, they adjust their positions with each blink, appearing along ridges and slopes as if calculating his trajectory. He crashes through a patch of brittle sagebrush and nearly tumbles down a short drop. The camera blinks the moment he steadies himself, and a blinker stands at the base of the drop, staring up with those mirror eyes. Another blink shows a second figure beside it. A third. They're lining the base of the ravine like sentries. Evan feels the pull again. It's not physical, but something inside him tightens every time they shift closer. He realizes they want him down there, and they'll keep tightening the loop until he obeys. He scrambles along the ravine rim, boots slipping on patches of ice, trying to stay above the creatures, but the camera begins pulsing faster. Irregular blinks like a heartbeat out of sync. Each cut reveals new positions. One blinker perched unnaturally atop a narrow rock spire, another balanced on the slope at an impossible angle, a third emerging from fog that wasn't there seconds before. They're tightening the net with mathematical precision. Evan's chest burns as he climbs toward a narrow plateau, hoping for space to break the pattern, but the next blink freezes the world, then returns with a blinker standing directly on the plateau's center, waiting for him as if it always knew the path he'd take. Evan freezes at the sight of the creature on the plateau, his breath slicing the cold air in uneven bursts. He knows the blinkers don't move while watched, but the camera blinks anyway, forcing the world to stutter. When the image returns, the solitary blinker is gone. Evan spins, heart hammering. Another blink. Now 5 of them stand along the plateau's rim, perfectly spaced, their eyes glowing like distant stars. The formation is unmistakable. A funnel, narrowed to a single direction. The ravine. Evan steps back, refusing to give in, but the next blink hits hard, glitching the entire world into a frozen smear, then clears to reveal all 5 figures leaning toward him in unison. The message is unmistakable. They're not surrounding him anymore. They're escorting him. Evan stumbles down the ravine, sliding on loose rock, half falling till the slope evens out. The air grows warmer here, wrongly warm, like something underground is breathing. His camera flickers once, but nothing appears ahead. For the first time all night, the blinkers seem to stop directing him. The silence is heavier than their presence. Evan pushes deeper between the stone walls until they open onto a clearing sunk into the earth. And there, half buried in frozen dirt, stands a small research station. Metal siding rusted through, windows black, cables spilling from the foundation like veins torn loose. His heart thunders. Someone worked here. Someone new. As he approaches the warped door, the camera blinks again. This time, instead of a creature, a red emergency light inside the station flickers alive, like it's been waiting for him. Evan pushes the door open, its hinges groaning through the dead air. Inside, dust floats in thin beams of red light, making the room look submerged. Old equipment litters the floor, monitors cracked, cables tangled, notebooks warped by moisture. He moves cautiously, scanning the walls lined with peeling hazard labels and faded research charts. The camera pulses again, illuminating rows of empty metal chairs bolted to the floor, all facing a wall of inactive screens. Something about their arrangement feels ritualistic, like people once gathered here to watch something they shouldn't have. Evan touches a screen gently. It sparks. One monitor flickers on, static washing over the room. He steps back as the red light deepens, and a cold realization presses against his spine. This place wasn't studying minerals. It was watching the blinkers. The static steadies into a faint image, grainy footage of the ravine outside. Evan leans closer, heart thudding. Another monitor boots up, then a third, each showing different angles of the surrounding terrain. His stomach tightens as he realizes the cameras are still online, still watching. A harsh blink from his own device syncs with a glitch on the monitors, and for a moment he sees something impossible. A blinker standing directly behind him on one of the feeds. He whips around. Nothing there. He stares back at the screen. The figure now gone. Another blink. Now it appears on a different monitor, closer to the station door. Evan steps away from the screens, pulse rising. The creatures aren't approaching physically. They're approaching through the cameras. He moves deeper into the station, following a corridor where the floor slopes downward. The temperature rises again, humid, suffocating. Water drips from exposed pipes overhead, echoing through the narrow hall. At the end stands a sealed steel door plastered with warning labels so faded they look like scars. Evan brushes off dirt and discovers a small viewing panel smeared with grime. When he wipes it clean, his breath catches. Behind the glass lies a chamber, lined with heavy cables and a metal platform at its center. His camera flicks. For a split second, the platform glows, as if something invisible is standing on it. A second blink hits harder, and now the glow pulses. Slow, rhythmic, alive. Evan steps back in horror. Whatever the blinkers guard isn't out there. It's under this station. Evan turns away from the chamber door, desperate to leave, when a sharp electrical pop rings through the station. The monitors in the control room come alive at once, their static replaced by crisp night footage. Evan freezes. Every screen shows the ravine, but now dozens of blinkers stand along the slopes, arranged in concentric rings around the station. His breath quickens as each camera blinks in perfect synchrony, causing the rings to shift closer with every stutter. The station lights flicker, the floor vibrating beneath his boots. Evan's camera hums louder, syncing with the external feeds like they share a heartbeat. He rushes toward the exit, but the next blink stops him cold. One blinker now stands right outside the door, waiting. Evan steps back from the doorway, pulse hammering every instinct, begging him to run. But the corridor behind him hums with rising electrical charge. The station lights flicker again, then stabilize in a deep red glow. A sudden metallic clatter echoes from the far end of the hall. Evan spins, ready to see a blinker forcing its way inside. Instead, a figure stumbles into view. A human silhouette, gasping, clutching the wall for balance. She raises a flashlight, its beam cutting through the haze, and Evan sees her face, weathered, strained, terrified, but unmistakably alive. She whispers his name before he even introduces himself, voice shaking like she's been waiting for him. "You shouldn't have come here," she croaks. Another blink flares through his camera, and she flinches violently, like she's seen that flicker before. They're responding to it, she warns. And now they've changed their pattern. Evan steadies his voice, asking who she is. But Dr. Hensley cuts him off with a frantic shake of her head. Louder. "We don't have long," She motions for him to follow as she limps toward the control room, moving with urgency despite her trembling legs. "I thought the project was dead," she mutters. "I thought they sealed the chamber for good." Evan demands answers, but the station shudders as another synchronized blink sweeps through the monitors. Mara flinches like she's reliving a nightmare. "They don't move in randomness," she says. "They're guardians. They react to triggers. Noise, light, rhythm, cameras." She points at Evan's device, voice tightening. "Yours is syncing with their old system, and that means they think you're part of the program." The next blink hits hard, and Mara goes pale. Mara stares at the monitors, horrified. "They've never formed that pattern before," she whispers. The blinkers outside now stand in long, curving lines converging toward the station's underground entrance. Evan tries to process her words, but she's already pulling a dented metal notebook from her pack. Inside are sketches. Raw, frantic drawings of blinkers positioned in spirals, grids, circles. "We tracked them for years," she says. "They only move when observed through artificial eyes, not human ones." Cameras? Evan feels a chill crawl through him. Mara turns a page and shows a diagram of a towering blinker-like shape, larger than the rest. "There's a hierarchy," she murmurs. "A central one, a commander. And when it stirs, the others rearrange. The monitors blink again, and one feed shows a new shape. Taller. Still. Waiting, trying to wait." Mara hurries to a rusted control panel and slams her hand against a breaker switch. The lights flicker, then shift from red to a dim, trembling white. "We need to slow their reaction time," she says. "This system predates the research station. We only borrowed it." Evan raises his camera instinctively, but Mara grabs his wrist. "Don't." Every blink tells them something. Every flash reads like a signal. The floor vibrates with a deep pulse from below, like a heartbeat echoing through stone. Mara's voice drops. "They're not protecting the chamber. They're protecting what's waking inside it." Evan backs away, breath tightening as the monitors flash again. Now the tall shape is closer, its silhouette crisp and deliberate, and its reflective eyes are pointed straight at him. The floor rumbles harder, dust raining from the ceiling. Mara drags Evan down the sloped corridor toward the sealed chamber door. "If it wakes fully, their formations won't matter," she warns. "Nothing will matter." Evan protests, terrified of getting closer to the source, but Mara's voice cuts through him. "We caused this. We opened it. We didn't listen." She reaches the steel door, hands shaking as she pulls an old access card from her pocket. Cracked, water-warped, but still intact. Evan watches as she holds it to the panel. For a moment, nothing happens. Then the chamber locks hiss, metal grinding like something ancient and reluctant. His camera pulses once. The chamber light flickers on, and something inside exhales. A rush of humid air floods the corridor as the chamber door cracks open, carrying a scent like warm stone and metal dust. Evan shields his eyes from the rising glow while Mara steps forward, gripping the frame for balance. The chamber pulses with soft white light. Slow, rhythmic, alive, echoing through the floor and into Evan's chest. His camera flickers in sync, blinking without his touch. Mara curses under her breath. "It's linking to the signal again. I thought it died years ago." Evan strains to see inside, but the light swells, revealing cables arching into a circular platform like veins feeding a heart. The pulse intensifies. The entire station trembles. The camera blinks once. Hard. When the image returns, a blinker stands at the far end of the chamber. Perfectly still. Perfectly waiting. Mara grabs Evan's sleeve and pulls him sharply backward. "Don't look at it through the lens," she warns. It reacts faster down here. The pulse of the chamber grows stronger, each throb rattling the metal rails overhead. The blinker doesn't advance. It doesn't need to. Evan realizes its position deliberately, between them and whatever lies deeper inside. Mara hurries along the wall toward a secondary console, slamming switches, trying to cut power. Sparks erupt, showering the floor with orange light. The chamber pulse skips, then doubles. Evan's camera twitches violently. Another blink. Now, two blinkers stand beside the first, forming a silent, symmetrical line. Mara's voice breaks. It's calling them. The core is awake, and the next blink is so bright Evan has to shut his eyes. Evan opens his eyes to find the chamber drenched in flickering white shadows, the blinkers closer than before, though they never visibly moved. Mara slams her fist against the console, shouting over the rumbling floor. It's feeding off the signal stream. Everything that blinks, your camera, these monitors, it interprets as instruction. Evan feels every hair on his arms stand. His device buzzes against his chest, the lead rapidly strobing. The blinkers tilt their heads in unison, responding instantly to the fluttering light, like soldiers awaiting orders. Mara lunges toward Evan, grabbing the camera. We have to kill it. But when she yanks, the device emits a piercing tone. The chamber responds. The light condenses into a single searing beam, aimed directly at the platform. The beam strikes the platform with a thunderous crack, sending a shock wave through the chamber. Evan and Mara are thrown to the ground, metal fragments clattering around them. The blinkers don't flinch, not even when the shockwave tears through their silhouettes. They simply adjust, stepping forward only during the blink that follows. Mara drags herself upright, coughing into the dust-filled air. The containment field is breaking. She gasps. Evan looks toward the platform just as the light dims enough to reveal a shape beneath it, massive, slumbering, barely outlined under layers of cables. His stomach turned. The blinkers aren't guarding the chamber at all. They're guarding what's waking up inside it, and the next blink comes faster than any before. The chamber lights plunge into darkness. Evan's breath stops in his throat. Then, blink. A blinding white flare reveals the blinkers inches away, forming a rigid semicircle around the platform. The massive shape beneath the cables shifts, slow, deliberate, like something ancient testing its limbs. Blink. Mara grips Evan's arm, terror hollowing her voice. If it fully syncs with your camera, it'll use you as the signal source. Evan tries to tear the device off, but the strap has fused to his jacket, threads melted by the earlier surge. Blink. The blinker's eyes ignite with mirrored fury as they lean toward him. Blink. The chamber rumbles like a giant drawing breath. Blink. The shape opens its eyes. The strobing light freezes for a breathless moment, and in that stillness Evan feels the air thicken, like the chamber itself is holding its lungs. Mara pulls him behind a toppled console, but his camera jerks in his grip, the strap tugging as if something else controls it. The blinkers do not move. They stand in perfect formation, all facing the platform, heads bowed in eerie reverence. Evan dares to peek around the console. Through the flickering haze, the massive shape beneath the cables rises a few inches, slow and heavy. Not like waking, more like remembering itself. A low hum vibrates through the chamber floor, rolling up Evan's legs and into his spine. His camera blinks once more. On the next pulse, a taller silhouette stands behind the blinkers, still watching. And every instinct in Evan's body knows this one outranks them. Mara's breath hitches as she spots the towering figure. That's the one we only saw once, she whispers, voice brittle, the one that didn't need the cameras. Evan barely processes the words because the leader's presence feels different, heavier, deliberate, as if it isn't reacting to the blinks but choosing its own timing. The chamber pulses again, brighter, and the leader tilts its head toward Evan, not the platform. The gesture carries intention. recognition. Evan crawls backward, terrified, but the blinkers in front never turn. Only their commander watches him. Another blink. Now it stands closer, still behind the others, but angled directly toward the camera strapped to Evan's chest, like it's addressing him, or calling to what's waking beneath the floor. The floor jolts violently, throwing both Evan and Mara sideways. Dust rains from the ceiling, cables snapping free and whipping across the room. The giant shape beneath the platform shifts again, this time with purpose, like something stretching long dormant limbs. The blinkers respond instantly, drawing closer to the platform, their bodies aligning into a geometrically perfect arc. But the leader stays fixed on Evan. Mara grips his jacket. "It's using your camera as the anchor point," she says. "The core is sensing to you." The thought punches cold through his chest. His camera buzzes louder, the lead flashing without rhythm now, panicked, almost alive. Blink. The leader is suddenly feet away, towering over him, head bent low as if listening to something inside his device. Then it lifts its face, and its eyes narrow. The leader raises one impossibly long hand, palm hovering inches from Evan's face. It doesn't touch him, only holds there, motionless, like measuring something. Mara shouts for Evan to break eye contact, but he can't. The air around the leader distorts, bending slightly like heat off asphalt, even though the chamber grows colder by the second. The pulse from the platform accelerates, the giant shape beneath the cables rising higher, its mass reshaping the shadows. The leader finally shifts its hand toward the platform, and the other blinkers respond instantly, forming a more condensed ring. But the leader doesn't join them. It stays with Evan, watching him like he's the key to finishing whatever has begun. And then the next blink shows the leader directly behind him. Evan spins around as the blink ends, feeling a cold presence at his back. The leader stands inches away, its reflective eyes locking onto him with an intelligence the others never show. The platform erupts in a low roar, the giant shape beneath it rising fully, cables snapping one by one. Mara screams his name, but Evan barely hears her. The leader leans closer, bending until its face is level with his. The chamber strobes. In one flash, he sees the massive being beneath the platform open something like wings. In the next, the leader's eyes change, brightening, focusing, sharpening with awareness. And in the next, it whispers without sound, a message he somehow understands. "You were always part of this." The blink holds. The leader doesn't move. It waits for him to answer. The chamber shakes, as if the earth itself is trying to pull free. Evan stands paralyzed between two impossible forces, the blinker leader inches from him and the colossal shape rising beneath the platform, shedding cables like snakeskin. Mara screams for him to move, but the leader blocks her path with one slow turn of its head. Evan's camera flares, strobing harder than anything yet, sensing with the chamber's pulse until the lights blend into a single blinding rhythm. The leader watches him, waiting, almost urging him. Evan realizes the truth hits too clean, too sharp. The blinking isn't summoning the creatures, it's communicating. Every flicker, every pulse, every camera cut has been a language. And now the leader asks him a question he doesn't understand. Though he feels the weight of it hammering in his chest, the gigantic form beneath the platform lifts its head. The next blink comes like a command. Mara lunges forward, grabbing Evan's arm and yanking him toward the corridor. The chamber floor cracks, splitting open in jagged lines that glow like molten bone. The colossal creature beneath the platform pushes upward, its silhouette spreading into something that looks too vast to fit inside the station. The blink hits again, violent, punishing, and the blinkers shift positions instantaneously, forming two concentric rings around the rising being. The leader doesn't join them. It stays at Evan's heel, moving with him step for step, its reflective eyes fixed not on the creature but on Evan himself. Mara shouts over the roar, "It's choosing you! It wants you for the anchor." Another blink. The massive being's eyes open wide, glowing the same color as Evan's camera screen. They reach the corridor, stumbling over broken tiles as the entire station groans under the pressure of what's waking. Evan tries to rip his camera free again, but the fused strap won't budge. The lead flares uncontrolled, blinking in wild, panicked bursts. The leader follows them into the hallway, ducking its elongated form beneath the low ceiling, moving with slow, deliberate steps, waiting for the pattern its commander demands. Mara drags Evan into the control room, slamming the door shut, though everyone knows it won't hold. She scans the flickering monitors, breathing hard. "If you can stop the blink," she says, "you can break the chain. End the link." Evan looks at his device, heartbeat sensing with its flashes. Behind the door, the leader's shadow stretches across the floor. Then, blink, the door buckles under impossible force, metal bending inward like paper. Evan's camera jerks violently, its screen glitching into a rapid strobe, faster than any natural blink. Mara grabs his shoulders, shouting over the rising shriek of the station's failing systems. "Smash it! You have to smash it!" Evan hesitates. The leader pauses on the other side of the door, sensing the indecision like it's part of the signal. The colossal being in the chamber roars, shaking dust loose from every beam and bolt. Evan lifts the camera high, ready to bring it down against the console. Blink, the door bursts inward. The leader steps through, lowering its head toward him, not threatening, but expectant. Almost pleading. Evan freezes, arm trembling over the console. Blink. Blink. The world dissolves into pure stuttered light. Evan clutches the camera, torn between fear and the heavy, impossible sense that the leader expects an answer, one he never agreed to give. The colossal being's roar shakes dust from the ceiling as its form fills the chamber behind them. Mara screams for him to finish it. The leader leans closer, reflective eyes softening into something disturbingly human for a moment, like recognition. A connection. Evan raises the camera again, preparing to shatter it once and for all. Blink. The leader's hand lifts. Not to stop him, but to salute. A gesture of acceptance. Blink. Evan hesitates, heart racing. Why does the leader know him? Why did its eyes change when he said his name? The final blink hits, pure white, swallowing everything. Then darkness. And silence.